Hello and welcome to another book review. This week I'll be reviewing Hanff Korelitz's The Devil and Webster. It is a book I read on audiobook, so I don't have a cover for you unfortunately, but I will be speaking about the author, talk a little bit about the plot. I'll avoid any spoilers, and I will go into what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, finish it up with some recommendations. We'll probably wrap it up there today. So, Hanff Korelitz is an author probably best known for writing the book that became the 2013 movie Admission, starring Paul Rudd and Tina Fey. I know that she wrote another book that was fairly acclaimed recently. Unfortunately, I don't know the name of that book, so she is a fairly established author. I have not read any of her other books, and I learned after reading this book is not a direct sequel to any of her works. But the main character in this book, she has written a previous novel about that character's earlier life. And so it's referenced a little bit in this book, but I don't think you need to have read that book to really enjoy this one. So I'll kind of jump into the plot at this point. So the book is about a college president named Naomi, who is the president of Webster College, which is a fictional college in Massachusetts. It's not quite the Ivy Leagues, but it's basically rising in the rankings, so it's a fairly prestigious college. And during her tenure at the college, she becomes embroiled in a scandal wherein students at the school, including her daughter, are protesting the lack of tenure for a favored professor at the school. And that's basically kind of the inciting incident of the novel that kind of kicks everything off, and it kind of goes from there. So what I liked about the book is I thought it was a really good description of a modern college campus. I graduated from my graduate program a few years back, and while we didn't have a scandal kind of similar to this, there's actually a few different scandals that are referenced in the book, but we didn't really have any scandals similar to the one in the book, but we did have a situation where our college president did resign early due to kind of a similar situation. So the way that it's described as far as the president's reaction to those things, as well as kind of the faculty, staff, and donor class, how they react to those things felt very real to me. I liked the way that the author really drills down into the character. Naomi is not exactly the most likable person in the world, but she is very competent at what she does, and she's a very strong person. But there are definitely parts in the book where she comes off with flaws, and you kind of get into her inner thoughts, and she sometimes is not a super nice person. But I think overall she is likable, even though she does have these parts of her that are kind of ugly. So I thought that was really well done. I think the relationships that she has with the various characters in the book, be it her daughter, be it other people at the college that she works with, I thought kind of rounded out her character and made you really understand where she's coming from. I think what was kind of the most interesting contrast was she is very much a person who was a leftist person, I guess is a way to say it, a protester herself. And so she does have sympathy for these characters, but there are definitely times when you get into her inner monologue and kind of comparing what she was protesting to what these characters are protesting. So you really do feel kind of the difference in the eras, I guess is a way that you could say that. The difference in generations as far as how she views protests and how she views their protest, and kind of how it's impacting her life as the president of the school. So those are some things that I liked about the book. Some things that I didn't care for as much in the book was, well, I thought the inciting incident was a good hook to get you into the book. There are definitely plot holes in the novel, and while that incident made sense, there are some other incidents in the book that made a little bit less sense. The book kind of, I say spirals out of control, but there are definitely points towards the end of the book that kind of stretch the realism of the novel. I thought too, this is kind of a plus or a minus depending on how you feel about it. I found the book to be really funny, in certain parts, but I think they're tonally, because it is dramatic, in certain parts. Tonally, it didn't really carry throughout. I think it's kind of a borderline satire. So tonally, it's kind of in different places there. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed this book a lot. I should just kind of wrap it up by saying I think it did do a really, to me, like listening to it, it's a relatively short novel, but the way that the character was dealing with these things pulled me into her world, and I did feel some sympathy for the character, because it's one of those, it's a novel where, and I haven't really seen this too often, where there are both good things and there are bad things happening in the character's life at the same time. And usually when you read a novel or a book, everything's really going really, really well, or everything's going really, really poorly. I think the book did a good job of just kind of capturing how life sometimes gives you both of those things at once. So I thought it did, like I said before, I think it was a really strong modern take on what college campuses feel like. I think it reminded me a little bit of The Art of Fielding, if you've read that book, or there's part of Philip Roth's The Human Stain, dealing with a college campus that felt that way too. So those are the things that I liked about it, and those are the things that I kind of didn't like about it. Overall, who would I recommend this to? I think anybody who's interested in kind of character studies, because it really does, the novel ultimately does kind of come down to its main character and how you feel about her, if you're kind of on her side or you're not on her side. I thought she was complex of a character to want to follow her actions and see where the book was going to take me, what she was doing. I thought the hook was enough to get me in to do that. I definitely enjoyed the writing style of the author. I think it was very, there's not a lot of digressions. It's really kind of straight on, like handling this main plot. There's not a ton of really subplots to the novel. If they are, they're really kind of secondary or tertiary. It kind of gives you exactly what you need to get you going. It may be a little bit more than you need in the beginning, where you kind of learn the story of how she came to become the president of the college, and maybe you didn't need that, but to me this was like short enough work that it didn't feel super superfluous to my enjoyment of it. So that's overall my kind of review of the book. I think anybody who enjoys kind of fiction set in colleges, or kind of wants a modern take on college campuses, and I should say that kind of it doesn't really go into the academic coursework or anything like that of the college. It's really kind of how a college president kind of views their job when handling crisis. So that's really the book. So I'd recommend that to anybody who's interested in that. I think it'd be a good book for college students now. I think it'd be a good book for anyone who wants a pretty good, deep character study on someone who is kind of a professional working woman, which is not something I think that's done all that frequently. So I think it is, I don't like to use the term strong female character, because I think it's kind of, I don't think we should have to use that term. I think we should just say strong character, but we are at the point where apparently we still have to use it. So, but definitely this character is a strong character, definitely feels like a real complex person dealing with real complex issues. So I did appreciate that. So I definitely give this book a recommendation. So I don't know what I'm going to be reading next time, so I will keep you posted. And until next time, bye.